Chapter 1. The Time Machine's Secret. Upon their return to Wellington with Watson and Sarah, Irene and Sherlock decided to buy a little house near the B&B which had come on the market while they were away in London. The 2-story cottage was well appointed, backing up onto the hill of the university, and not far from the funicular. It didn't take long for Irene to decorate and furnish their new home, with lovely antique pieces and a couple of wardrobes, apparently dearly needed. For his part, Watson had arranged for Sherlock's time machine to be self-transported to the university, where it was stored in one of the mechanical engineering department's huge warehouses, and accessible to both he and Sherlock. Meanwhile, Dr. Bahareth and Agent Weisberg arranged to have the more worrisome cases of terrorisms forwarded indirectly through Sherlock's computer. Although quite interested in these new cases, Sherlock's mind seemed to wander down another path from time to time. The fact that his arch-enemy, Professor Moriarty, was alive and well, and roaming in New York at an unknown date, bothered him. "Tell me, Watson," Sherlock asked during one of their afternoon conversations in the quad. "What would happen if I went back to 1891 and have a chat with Professor Wells?" "Why would you want to do that?" Watson asked, raising both eyebrows. "There is no need for you to bother with the time continuum anymore. What's done is done. You will not be able to undo the past. You know that as well as I do." Of course, I realized as much after Dr. Bahareth explained what the consequences could be if I were to change what happened at the Majestic Theater on Broadway. But modifying or redressing this situation was not the reason for which I asked the question. What then? If Wells is the one who retrieved the time recorder from the capsule, I would like to know which other dates have been recorded. Besides which, I would suggest that the time machine holds more than one secret. But Mr. Holmes, Dr. Bahareth's team and I have been through the machine, examining its computer systems meticulously before we even attempted to update or network them with Mrs. Holmes's capsule. Yes, I can appreciate that, Watson. But you are working with the mind of a computing genius of the 21st century. I, on the other hand, still possess all matters of concern with the mind of someone living in the 19th century. Sherlock filled his pipe with tobacco then, before he went on. And it has occurred to me that although Wells was perhaps the most inventive and knowledgeable man walking the earth at the time, he still wanted to leave an indelible mark of his life in the 19th century for the generations that would use or discover his machine in the future. Much like leaving a log or a record of his work prior to anyone using the machine, you mean? Sherlock nodded and lit the pipe. Something of the kind, yes. You see, such as your great-grandfather did in my case, when he recorded all of my work, I believe our Professor Wells must have kept records of his work. And why would you believe the records be lodged somewhere in the capsule? Not necessarily in the capsule, Watson, but I am sure they do exist, and such as he had a time recorder in the machine itself, he must have logged his processes or work somewhere. And if not in the time machine itself, you want to go back to find out where these records are? Or were, I should say? Yes. But to return to my original query, what would happen if I were to return to 1891? Probably nothing, if it were only a cursory visit, or a short meeting with the professor. I shouldn't think there would be anything to worry about. Sherlock remained pensive for a while before he suggested, "Yes, I believe it would be a good idea for me to pay Mr. Wells a visit."